Before we get to this week's Falcons Audible, we have a message from Home Depot. Fast free delivery from the Home Depot makes your projects hassle-free. Forget something you need? Visit HomeDepot.com or the Home Depot app for free delivery on millions of products, including same-day and next-day options. Get delivery at the speed you need only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m. subject to availability. Welcome to Falcons Audible, presented by AT&T. I'm Dave Archer. That's DJ Shockley. Derek Rackley's not with us. Rack's out softballing out on the West Coast with his daughter. He will be back with us next week as we get things started. This week, pre-training camp edition of Falcons Audible. Shock. Man, it's good to see you, brother.
No doubt. It's good to be back, man. I'm excited for this season, excited to get going as we record this podcast. We are literally one day away from them getting on the grass. And before we start the podcast, I haven't told Arch this, but I wanted to do this because we're starting a new season. And I got to give my man his flowers. Arch, what year is this with the Falcons? What year is this calling Falcons games? Because you have done it at a high rate, man. I'm a fan. I've told him this 1,000 times, but if you guys don't listen to Arch, I know a lot of people who do listen who say they turn off everything and just turn on the radio. But Arch, what year is this, man? And I think, the credibility's through the roof, man. Play for this team. Now you get to do all the different things you do with this organization. I'm just proud to say I know you, man. But what year is this for you?
I appreciate you saying that, Shock. It's been fun to work with you. You and I have worked a number of years together. This is 22 coming up, I think.
22.
For calling the games. 23, I did the pregame, postgame show way back in 03. So been associated with the team for a long time. Very proud to have had an opportunity. Appreciate you. And you've been doing stuff with this team for a long time as well. So you and I are old veterans of this kind of stuff. Man. I got a few more years in the bank than you do.
Awesome.
But I appreciate being here with you, man.
Yeah. For sure.
Speaking of that, we spent a little bit of off season, and so what did the Shockley family get a chance to do this offseason that kind of sticks out to you? You get anything?
You know what? I think the best thing for me this offseason was being able to spend more time with the fam. As we know, during football season, it is go, 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 go. We're always on the move. We're always doing something. And the offseason, I got a chance to kind of get away with the fam. I got a chance to watch my son play travel baseball. I get to be there on Saturdays and, sit there as a fan, sit in my little rocking chair, have my, my little beverages off to the side, and just sit there and watch him. And that's what I look forward to, man. I don't get a chance to do that in the fall. I miss, his games on Saturdays in football. So just to get the chance to wake up and do that early in the morning, be at the park all day is pretty cool. Get to go watch my daughter. She ran track this season for the first time in the spring.
Wow.
So I was able to go watch her. She actually really did well in it. And it brought out some different excitement for her that I never thought that she would be excited about. So it was cool to be able to do that. And then we took a little family vacay to Jamaica.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it was
Jamaica, man.
Good times, man. We jumped in the Blue Hole. We, went ATV riding in the pool for hours. Of course, you're in a hotel room all day with each other. So you just get that good family time, man. And it's what we need. It gives us the kind of refresh we need as we get ready for this long season. So
a little battery recharger.
Definitely was good times. Arch, how about you, man? Off season consisted of a few things, I'm sure.
Had a chance to go visit my son out in Arizona. Lives in Arizona and been working out there. Works for a big housing company out there, a residential housing company. He's a supervisor out there, so I got a chance to spend some time with him and his wife.
Any golf out there in Arizona?
We actually did slip out.
Yeah, I know that.
Played around. It's funny because he moved out there, didn't care anything about golf, and he lived here in Atlanta. Now he lives out there at all these golf courses all the place in Arizona,
out there,
and he's playing golf all the time. So, but one thing I did get a chance to do, and I want to throw this out to the Falcon fan out there. I had a chance to go on the Falcon fan cruise.
Ooh.
You had things to do. You couldn't go with us that time, but there was 10 of us, former players, the likes of Michael Turner and Alan Rossum and Chris Moore. A lot of different guys went on the trip with us. But we got a chance to hang out with Falcon fans. There was about 150, 200 fans on the boat with us. We were a Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, Utopia of the Seas, which is the second largest cruise ship in the world, second only to the new one that they just came out with, which calls it Icon of the Seas, I think. But got a chance to go down to the Bahamas with the fans. It was really cool. Spent a lot of time. So you get a chance, check out the Cruise with the Falcons fan cruise. and go ahead and register. Come do it with us. There'll be, I don't know who all will get a chance to go, and I'm lobbying to get a go again next year. Maybe Shock can go.
How accessible were you to like the fans? Because like obviously
right
the
there,
fan crews,
right there, yeah, right there with them.
So fans got to pick your brain about AJ Terrell and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, not only that, we're playing different games. We're throwing the football with them. We're doing a bunch of stuff out on the beach with them and stuff like that. So if you get a chance, go find the Falcons fan cruise and see if you can get registered for that. That was really fun.
I've never been on a cruise, man. I've never been on a cruise, so it would be interesting. Did you ever get like seasick or anything, or you were pretty good? This thing
is like a floating shopping mall. Okay, you don't even know you're on the ocean, dude. It's smooth, it's like 17 floors high, and it just cuts through the water. Now we didn't cruises. We weren't in the North Sea or anything like that, anything that kind of stuff. But it was really cool. So if you get a chance, go check out Falcons Fan Cruise. There's a lot of photos up right now. I think on AtlantaFalcons.com you can check it out. But if you want to, get in your mind, maybe register for that next May. I believe that thing will set sail again. All right, training camp's here, Shock. We talked about it. I want a training camp memory or two for you as you came into camp. What was the overall feeling? What are these guys feeling as they come to camp, whether they're a new guy or an old guy? And sometimes that's the same.
The fun thing about training camp, man, there's a little sense of urgency because you go through the offseason, you got OTAs and mini camps, and you really know, like, there's not really you're getting ready for a game. You're going to have practice this week. You're going to have some practice next week, but you're not really getting ready for the season. Training camp hits, and you look up and say, oh, week and a half, 2 weeks, we got a real game. It's getting real. Like, think about it. Oh, in a month, am I going to be on this ball club? And that's kind of how I thought about it. It was like, okay, in a month, depending on my performance, will I be an Atlanta Falcon? And that goes through your brain a little bit. The other part for me that kind of sets in for me that I think about a lot is the bonds you make during training camp, the fun you have because you're around guys. And when I was here, we would get here early in the morning, 6 in the morning or whatever, and you'd be here for me when I was a rookie, I was here to 10:30 at night. And you're here all day with your team. You're staying at the dorms over there. And I also remember during training camp, the cool rookie skits and the singing, all that kind of stuff. You see different personalities from guys, and you find out what guys have been doing in the offseason, what makes them go, and you kind of build that rapport with them. And it's just fun to have that kind of moment because you're never going to have that group together again. And you think about it, we had 90 guys coming to camp. And you knew during that camp that was that 90 guys. And by the time camp ends, it's going to be 53 guys, 60, whatever it is, that's on the team. And you go your separate ways. So you build those bonds with guys. And there's guys who I was in training camp with that didn't make the team and still friends with today. And it's cool to have those moments to celebrate guys, but also it's real deal now. It's time to go to work. I know you had some cool teammates and some cool experiences during your training camp. What was the fondest memories you got?
Yeah, and I think that I would echo what you're saying is it's a really strange situation because it's competitive. You're trying to be one of 53 guys that makes this roster. There's 90 guys coming to camp. You don't have to be a Phi Beta Kappa to figure out the numbers don't necessarily equate. So you're competing with guys that you're actually pulling for too to help you win. It's really a strange dynamic in that you're not really pulling against the player. You're trying to concentrate on yourself and put your best foot forward. You hope he does too, and then whoever wins that job wins that job. So it's really a kind of a mind freeze to a certain extent where you're trying to fight through those kind of things. But when I think back to training camp, I think about the heat of Atlanta. I came down here as a young guy trying to make a club, much like you did when you came in from Georgia. Here I come from Iowa State down, and they had one of the best quarterbacks in Falcons history. It was still here, Steve Barkowski. And so you're learning from him how to be a pro. But I remember 15 straight days of two-a-days in full pads. They don't do that anymore. Now, because they're smarter than they were back when I was playing.
That ain't even right.
But you forgot what day it was. I remember the heat of Atlanta. I remember the two-a-days. I remember Scott Case and I playing Nerf hoop at night in our room. We had a hoop up. We're shooting.
How did your arm last for 15 straight days of 2 days?
Yeah, you struggled. You struggled. The arm would get dead.
Oh my!
You had ice. You had to ice the arm after every
15
practice.
Straight days of 2 days. Goodness gracious!
And then the thrill of making the team. Shock. You felt this too. I mean, when you fight through all of that, the heat, the battles, the tough days in the morning, and you got to rally in the afternoon because you got to have a better practice, and absorbing playbook. And then I remember the coach walked by me after the third preseason game, Dan Henning, and he said, "Hey, David, you found a place to live yet?"
Hey.
And you talk about a feeling now.
Hey, now.
There's no way I can describe because you don't know. You're talking about, Shock. It's a everyday grind, mentally, physically, emotionally, because this is your dream. You want to play in the league, right? And so I'll never forget that. That was one of the great feelings, one of the great memories I have of that. Okay, training camp starts essentially on Thursday here. We're recording this on a Wednesday. The training camp starts Thursday. The players are in the building doing a lot of interviews, some of the administrative things, if you will, that go into kind of getting ready for a season, and they'll hit the field on Thursday. And then we've got open practices, and the fans are sold out.
They were mad. I know y'all were mad last year for sure.
What did that mean to you, Shock? We had the field, and my training camp was in Swanee, but very similar setup.
With the hill.
Big hill. People came out, got all set up on the hill, and watched us practice. You get the same thing here at Flowery Branch. Tell me about that, especially as a guy that played his high school football in Georgia, played his college football in Georgia, and now all of a sudden you're playing your pro football in Georgia. What did that mean to you?
First off, it was cool to be drafted by the team that you grew up watching, and to be in the state was really cool. And then to have the opportunity to come to the Atlanta Falcons. And for years you watch them on TV and you're like, oh, man, that would be cool. And you see all the fans. And to be a part of it was really surreal. I remember my rookie year, obviously in 2006, we also still had Michael Vick, and biggest face in the National Football League. And I remember running out first practice, and we used to do a drill where you say you're like 5-10 yards away, and you're jogging across, and you're just getting warmed up, and the fans are on the hill. Every time we got towards the hill, it was as many people calling my name as it was Michael Vick, and I was baffled by it. Awesome. Like, I'm looking at him like this dude is everything, and people are still fans of me. And I tell you, it gives you a little bit more juice than you think. It gives you a little bit more excitement to go out and perform because so many people are watching and want you to succeed. I remember the first time getting into my first ever preseason game, and I'm a 7th-round pick. I don't get into fourth quarter if that, and I get in probably middle of the fourth quarter, and as soon as I run on the field, all you hear is fans barking, and it was a pretty cool feeling that, people actually wanted to see me play. And then to play here, it just, cherry on the top. So it's cool to have the fans back. I know you guys are excited. All 3 days are sold out coming up over the next 3 days, which is really cool. It shows a lot of excitement for the season. And I don't think fans would be excited, Arch, for a team that doesn't have the potential. Mm-hmm. Or I think there are a lot of guys that fans are excited to see. And that speaks volumes, I think, for this organization to where they're at. Obviously, the season didn't end the way we wanted, but still coming to this year, fans are excited about what we've done in the offseason. And to have you guys at camp for these players, trust me, it means a lot. For these guys to walk out of that locker room and look over to their right and see just a hill full of fans cheering, kids out there. They're trying to come before school goes back, and everybody just enjoying that time watching one of their favorite teams is always pretty cool. So I'm glad that we got the fans back. I'm glad that the fans are coming out and it's sold out. Speaks volumes to what this team could be. Yeah, a lot of energy. You guys provide that energy, especially when it gets a little bit warm and you start to get into some of the days, the dog days of training camp. To have that energy on the fields, almost like running in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and you need something to happen in the fourth quarter, and the way the fans rise up down there to help the players kind of find that extra piece
of energy. Tickets are free. We're talking sold out, but you got to go to AtlantaFalcons.com/training camp and get your tickets now. Again, they're free. Go get your tickets so you can come out and watch the Atlanta Falcons and really pump them up and get them ready to go. Now, we're doing a live show Saturday from practice here. If you'd like to tune in Saturday morning to watch the practice, alongside Taylor Vismore and a couple of special surprise VIP guests. We'll be doing that on AtlantaFalcons.com. So I'm excited about that. I was just visiting with Taylor a little bit ago. We're trying to put a plan together for the show, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's kind of a cutting-edge deal, doing a kind of a live broadcast during training camp. We'll have, I think, Tori McElhaney will be down on the field. She's going to talk to potentially Raheem Morris, kind of a sideline reporter type deal, and we'll be describing stuff. So it should be a lot of fun. So tune in, AtlantaFalcons.com. You can find a lot of details about that on AtlantaFalcons.com and what we're going to be doing. All right.
Sweet.
Let's dive into what we potentially are going to see or what you're hoping to see.
All right.
If you start looking at training camp, give me some storylines you think are sticking out to you, Shock, that probably are sticking out in the fans' minds as well.
I think a lot of people are interested in, obviously, what happens with Michael Penix Jr. I think a lot of people think that's a big storyline. For me, I don't think it's as big of a storyline as people think. I think we saw what Michael Penix was about last year. I know it was a small sample size, but I think for us, we saw enough out of his play that gives us confidence that this guy can get it done. And obviously, a whole season will tell that, and he's going to have his opportunity. And obviously, 3 games last year, he showed some really good things. The biggest storyline for me, I think, is on the other side of the ball. There are a lot of new faces. You got a new coordinator. You got a new aggressive scheme. So I think how fast this defense comes together is a huge storyline for me. There's a couple position groups we're going to talk about here in a minute. But for me, I'm paying a little bit more attention to the defensive side of the ball. You look on the offensive side and you start going through the position groups and you feel pretty good about it. You got a lot of guys who play a lot of ball. Defense, you got a lot of guys who play some ball too, but you got a lot of new faces and a lot of new spots, and you got a new coordinator coming in here in year 1. How quickly can they get together? Because we don't have time to say, all right, this is going to be a 2-3 year deal. We're trying to do this here in this season in year 1. So I think the biggest storyline going for me, the one thing that I'm really looking forward to is watching all the different components of this defense. How about you?
Yeah, I think that defense, certainly based on what we did in the draft, would be an area that obviously was concerned for the Falcons. They wanted to address that area. Obviously not very good. You're 31st in the league in sacks. You went out and got a couple of guys that can rush the passer in the first round. And then you went and got a couple of ball hawks right after that. 2 guys are going to play in the secondary alongside Jesse Bates and A.J. Terrell. Only 18 takeaways last year. We were -6 in the giveaway takeaway ratio. Not very good against the run either. If I look at the numbers here, we were 15th versus the run. You were 23rd in total defense. So, yes, you need to fix the pass rush. Also need to be able to stop the runs. There's a lot of battles and things that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. So I would agree with you. The expanse of the offense is another story for me in that what Michael Penix is going to bring to the table. Like you said, we got a little taste in those last 3 games, but maybe not as much. They kind of stayed to confines of what they'd been doing the first 15 games of the year, first 14 games of the year. So now all of a sudden with Penix's ability to get out of the pocket, and I'm not talking about get out of the pocket and run, which he's capable of doing if he needs to, extend plays. I'm talking about making defenses defend sideline to sideline now. You're no longer going to be able to defend in a 7-yard box. Now you've got a guy that's going to be able to bootleg off of Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier and get out on the perimeter and now stretch you in different ways, horizontally as well as vertically down the field. Another piece of it, to me, Shock, is the introduction, maybe the reintroduction of the vertical passing game. We saw some of that with Matt Ryan in his last year here. Have not really seen that as much over the last few years. And Penix has an unbelievable ability from put a guy in. There's nobody better in a 50-50 ball situation than Drake London, who's coming off a monster season. So maybe some of those explosive plays that you don't have to be on the field for 15 plays. Now you're on the field for 6 plays and you shove one in the end zone. I like that. I'll be interested to see some of those kind of things take place.
And we saw some of that too. We saw his ability to throw the football down the field. I think there was a couple games last year where, hey, you put a guy up to bat, it was incomplete. Guess what? Next play, you put him back up to bat again. And I think that's something we like to see is pushing the ball vertically, forcing a defense to cover the entire 53 and a third, sideline to sideline, and make sure teams know that, guess what? Yeah, it's going to be some underneath stuff, but guess what? You got to be wary of the ball going over your head too, so that's a good call.
All right, let's talk about position groups now that are kind of sticking out. We know that Penix is a guy that people are going to be paying attention to. You mentioned you're pretty relaxed with that. I think that we'll continue to watch him progress. Obviously, we know that he's still essentially a rookie quarterback, and we'll watch that play out. Give me a position group or two that stick out in your mind that you really are going to hone in on maybe early on in camp.
One for me is the interior defensive line. I am excited to see where this group goes. Obviously, for the last 10 years, we've seen a guy wear number 97 and Grady Jarrett be that guy you knew coming in. All right, we know what this guy's about. We know on the interior of this defensive line what you're going to get with number 97. Now, no Grady Jarrett. Who is that next guy to step forward and be the catalyst for it? And we know in this league, we talk a lot about the perimeter guy. We talk a lot about, having those kind of playmakers on the outside, which you got to have. But you also have to have the depth on the interior lines of scrimmage. And I think the line of scrimmages matter most. And in this league, if you can stop the run, and then you can get after the passer, that's a big deal. You talked about adding some of these guys in the draft, obviously with two guys who can rush the passer in the first round. But what about the interior part of the defensive line? And we've seen it over years. Just go down the road playing against a Vita Vea over there in Tampa. You knew every time you stepped into that ball game, he was going to be a factor. In the run game, in the pass game, you knew that. Can the Falcons have that guy? Obviously, you got Onyemata, you got Harrison, TQ coming back. Rook and Dorless are going to be two big guys who you're going to ask a lot of. Can Rook take that next step? Is going to be a big topic of conversation. Obviously, LaKale London is a big part of it, but you need to have impact defensive linemen, guys who can make a difference in ball games. So that part of this defense is, I'm not going to say a concern, but it's something that I'm really going to pay a close attention to and see what kind of issues can they create up front. And I think with Grady gone, there are going to be a couple of guys that feel like, you know what, maybe I'm that next guy to kind of fill that void and say, you know what, I can be the guy that can carry us for the next 10 years. I think we know we got it on Yamato. We know he's been around the league. He's played. He's, been one of those kind of guys, reason why you brought him here. But then also you talk about some of the young guys who are going to ask to play a key role in that interior defensive line. Now, obviously on the outside, that's another topic as well. And we can easily go there. I know a lot of people, you just talked about it, being able to get to the passer, getting sacks, that's a big deal. But I also feel like with what we have, that's going to be a big conversation. I can't wait to see how these guys continue to progress as the training camp goes on.
Well, you and I are on the same page because I wrote D-line, so I won't go there. I'll go to my next group that I was going to talk about. But defensive line, remember, Ulbrich brings an attacking style of defense, meaning you're going to pick a gap and you're going to shoot it. There's none of this grabbing guys and holding and kind of throwing them off and trying to play a stalemate at the line of scrimmage. They're looking to penetrate and make plays in the backfield. So what Shock is talking about is paramount, that you have guys in that interior defensive line that can penetrate and create problems for blocking schemes. So now all of a sudden linebackers are running free and maybe they're penetrating. We know we've got one of the best interior linebackers in the league in Caden Ellis, who led the team in tackles yesterday, 150 tackles. He had 16 quarterback hits. I mean, the dude was everywhere, and you're adding a couple of guys that have similar capabilities to this roster and to these guys. So I'll go to the back end. I'll go to the secondary. I think you feel really comfortable about the All-Pro Jesse Bates at safety.
Yeah.
I think you feel really good about A.J. Terrell and what he brings to the table at the corner spot. So now what happens in maybe the other three spots? And I say three because you got a corner, you got another safety, and you've got your nickel back situation. Sure. And the nickel is one that you might have gone out and drafted a guy that potentially ends up being your starter in Billy Bowman at nickel. Now, D. Alford, who's played here the last couple of years and had some really good moments, is going to have something to say about that. Yeah. So there's going to be some really good competition back there. Mike Hughes returns as corner, had a really good year last year, but you've got some young guys that are chomping at the bit. We've got a young guy that I think is going to challenge a little bit in Kobe Bryant, a kid out of Kansas who had 13 career interceptions, a 3-time first-team All-Big 12 corner. He's going to come in and say, wait a minute, why can't I start at that corner spot?
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be some really good competition. And then you look at the safety spot, Shock, with Watts returning. How about DeMarco Hellams, a guy lost in the shuffle here? Hey, don't forget about me. I took the job away from a guy 2 years ago, and then I got hurt in preseason.
The reason why Justin Simmons was here for sure.
Yeah, he might not even have been here
right.
had DeMarco Hellams not gotten hurt. So there's a guy that wants to reclaim his opportunity. So the secondary, some battles there as well.
Yeah, some real battles back there. That's going to be interesting too, because you name 7 or 8 different guys that absolutely could play a part in how this season goes on the back end. And as we know, this is a league where teams want to throw the football around the yard. And you got to have guys who can hold up. You got to have guys who have extreme confidence. And we know we got a lot of guys who have that, but can they show it? Can they do it? Can they be a big part of what this defense is about? And you talk about having an aggressive scheme that Ulbrich wants to play with. Those guys have to be able to hold up in man coverage. Ulbrich is going to want to get in this guy's face and say, you know what, we're going to play press man coverage on the outside. Let's hold up and let's go be those kind of guys. Archer, one thing I wanted to ask you was, obviously we talked about some of the position groups that we're looking forward to watching. But there's also a group or select amount of players that feel like maybe they have something to prove. And when you look at either side of the ball, is there a player, is there a couple players, maybe it's a position group that you feel like they have something to prove coming into training camp in this season?
Well, I think that certainly the easiest place for us to point is we'll go to Kyle Pitts, the tight end. And I think that a lot of people point to that. Everything I understand about Kyle is he's had a really good offseason. He's chomping at the bit to get back. I think that he and Penix have spent some time in the offseason together where there's been some bonding there. Kyle's one of those kind of guys that there were moments last year where he had a 4-game stretch where he had, 21 receptions, 300 yards, and a couple of touchdowns in just a 4-game stretch. And then maybe got left out of the equation a little bit. Maybe because the quarterback didn't throw it to him, maybe because the defense took him away, or maybe his own fault. He wasn't playing at the level he's capable of playing at. But he's kind of that guy that I think is that last piece on the offense. Bijan Robinson's going to bring it. Mm-hmm. Coming off a monster year last year, some 1,900 yards in total offense. Drake London, who has surfaced as one of the 7-8 best wide receivers in the National Football League. What Darnell Mooney was able to do, just on the edge of being another 1,000-yard receiver. We know what Algier can do when he comes in the game. Ray McLeod, his contributions. He had a career year last year as that third wide receiver. But that last piece is this guy that you drafted 3 overall about 4 years ago, that if he can come into his own, much like he did his rookie year, that's the one that sticks out to me. If you're just going to find one guy that you think could be a difference-making dude that really takes you to a different level. We saw it. Penix finds him. Right at the end of the game against Washington. He goes down low to make a really difficult catch, and against tight coverage, those are his capabilities. That's what you want to see every Sunday.
Bro, that's a great call, because I think that's probably number one for the fans. I mean, as much as, we're both around the city, people are always asking me, well, what's up with Kyle? Is Kyle still going to be here? Can he be a difference maker? Well, he was taking number 4 overall. He had a great rookie year. What's happened? So I think that's a big part of the conversation, is where Kyle Pitts stands within his offense, and can he get back to what everybody thought he was going to be when they drafted him, for sure. For me, Arch, when I think about it's not even a position group. I think it's a group of players. For me, it's the year 2 guys. The year 2 guys, can they take that next step and have real value on this team? Obviously, we talked about Rook. Maybe going to be one of the key catalysts in that interior defensive line. Dorless. We saw J.D. Bertrand step in last year, play really well in some key moments. We know Braylon Trice was hurt last year. Can he come back, and can he have some value and help this team? Casey Washington is another guy, a receiver. You talk about a bunch of guys who already are solidified themselves, but Casey can have some value. We've seen him have, some moments where maybe special teams, maybe he comes in and plays a role maybe when a guy goes down, and can he be a factor? I think those year 2 guys, can they really provide value in year 2? Because you're going to need these guys. Obviously, you got a great rookie class. You think that's going to come in here and add value? Can your guys from last season, a couple of them banged up? I heard Rook talk probably a month ago, and they asked him about his rookie season. And he goes, man, I'm not going to lie. There was a lot I had to learn. The speed was different. The physicality was different. And I had to mentally get myself wrapped up around, this is different. And I think a lot of guys have to adapt to it as rookies, especially playing in those trenches. I mean, it's some grown men up there. But I think if those year two guys come in and make a huge impact and have some tremendous value on this team and provide some really good, solid additions, I think you have a spot where you feel good about those guys. So I'm looking forward to seeing those year two guys who can take that next step. Can those guys be guys that you say, you know what, those were quality picks?
Well, I think it's such a good point, Shock, and the group that needs to take the biggest step, and you just mentioned a couple of names there. I think Rukaroro is a big. I think he fits what Ulbrich wants to do. If you look at what he did at Clemson and knifing through and creating problems with his ability, his quickness, and his size, Rukaroro is one of those guys that stands up, as well as Dorless. I think you're dead on there. What are you hoping to see from the 2025 draft class? What are we hoping to get there? I mentioned some of the numbers, Shock. 31 sacks, you're 31st in the league. Obviously, that's one of those areas that you'd hope to address. You had a couple of guys there. And you had 18 takeaways last year. 18 takeaways was kind of in the middle of the pack as far as takeaways go, but you were -6 in the giveaway takeaway ratio. I think only one team made the playoffs with a minus giveaway takeaway, and that was the Tampa Bay Bucks. Got in. Wow. I think they were -2.
Wow.
So tell me about what you expect out of the draft class. What are we hoping we get out of that?
I think the number one thing you get from this draft class is tons of experience. I think you got guys who are going to come in here and be ready for the moment. And I don't think playing in the National Football League will be too big for these guys. And a lot of them talked about having, even with all the experience and what they played, having somewhat of chips on their shoulder about being able to perform at this next level. You talk about, obviously, Jalen Walker and James Pierce brought in here for one reason, and they talked about it when they first got drafted, is I know what the expectations were when we got here. We were drafted to go get the quarterback. You got two guys in the back end, and Billy Bowman and Xavier Watts, who, like you mentioned, a key stat is takeaways. Oh, they did that in college with ease. They did that. They were top of the country over their career in doing that. So you're talking about guys who are used to getting the ball in their hands. So I'm excited to see how much of an addition, how much of an impact these guys can have on this defense. And we've talked so much about where this defense is and what Ulbrich wants to do, and the word we both use is aggressive. I think all four of those guys you would put in the aggressive category, who want to go get the football, who want to get after the quarterback, who want to be impact players, who want to change the game. And for me, when I look at this 2025 draft class, and when the season's over, I want to know how many impact plays these guys had. And for a lot of people, you want to say, oh, well, what's a real impact play? Something that changes the dynamic of a game. And whether it's 1 game, 3 games, 4 games, you do something in those games that changes something for your ball club. It changes field position. It gives you the ball back to your offense. It does something that you say, well, that's why we drafted that guy. And I think there's going to be instances this season where we see all four of those guys have those kind of impacts throughout the season. And anything other than that is cherry on top. So I'm excited to see how integral these guys will be a part of this defense, whether, the snap count is, 50%, whether it's 40%, or maybe some of these guys you're going to ask a lot from. And I think those two pass rushers, you're going to ask those guys to play a key role this season. But who knows what happens on the back end. It's going to be fun to see where these guys end up.
The two teams that went to the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles, last year, Kansas City had 39 sacks, which was 18th in the league. A lot of people feel like, okay, the sacks are what are going to dictate getting there. They were +6 in the giveaway takeaway ratio, okay? The Philadelphia Eagles, who won the Super Bowl and got after Patrick Mahomes, they had 41 sacks. They were 13th in the league in sacks, even though we talked about how that Philadelphia Eagle defense swarmed and got after
both
you.
Middle league.
13th in the league, but they were +11 in the giveaway takeaway. So It goes hand in hand. Pressure on the quarterback, bad throws. My guys are seeking and fighting. What I put down on my piece here is I talked about, I don't know if you've ever seen movies or maybe a documentary of watching piranhas in the water.
Yeah.
But if you throw a piece of meat in the water, I called it feeding frenzy for both the quarterback and the ball. That's what we're hoping for, and Shock kind of summarized that with what he was talking about there.
Yeah.
All right, we prepare for the 2025 season. I think we talked about the aspects of the team that need to improve over training camp. You talked about D-line performance versus the run and the pass. What do you need to see, Shock, in camp that gives you a feeling that this team is going to be better than they were a year ago, or progressing to the regular season with Tampa Bay sitting there in week 1? What do you need to see in camp that makes you feel good about what you're doing, what you're seeing?
I think where I'm going with this, a lot of people won't be able to kind of put their hands on it and notice it. But I think for guys like us who watch it differently, and maybe there are a lot of fans out here who watch it in the same facet, but for me, it's a daily act of being consistent, competitive, but also being accountable. And I think that bodes well for as you head to the season. If you're consistent every day in how you go out and prepare, if you're accountable with your teammates on how you practice and how you get after people, and you're super highly competitive, once you get to the game, all that stuff comes together and it makes for really good football, I believe. If the guy next to you you're keeping him accountable, he's keeping you accountable, you guys have been through the battles and the wars in training camp, and you guys have been consistently doing it, when you get in the game, it becomes second nature to you. And for me, I want to see that on a daily basis. How consistent will the offense be when it comes to red zone production when they're going against the defense? How competitive will they be when the O&D line get together and they're going on one-on-ones and they're competing and fighting? How accountable will Jesse Bates be, which we know he will be, with some of the young guys and bringing those guys along, and they make a mistake, will he be on their tail about some stuff? I think all those things go hand in hand with what makes a really good ball club, and once you get to that first game, and you can see that stuff come out during the ball game. So for me, can I see that daily? Can I see these guys? And I know these guys are going to compete. You know it. But can it be something on a consistent and daily basis of going out and doing it every day that shows you, all right, this team has something? And I think we've been a part of Archer. We've been a part of teams where you feel like, I trust that guy. I know when that guy steps on the field with me, I know that guy's going to be he's going to go 12 yards, and he's going to come flat, and he's going to come to the sideline. You trust that guy because guess what? In practice, he was consistent with it. We were accountable with both our steps. We were accountable with where the ball was going to be. And you knew once you got in the game, regardless of what that corner did, guess what? I can let this thing go and feel good about it. And I think that's a big part of going into the season is how accountable are you with your teammates, and can that transfer into the game? Man,
such a big word and a cool word that Shock just used there is trust. It happens in the offensive line.
Yeah.
It happens from the second level, from the first level of the defensive line to the second level in linebackers talking and what they're supposed to do, the communication in the back end, trusting one another that you're going to do what you're supposed to do, or you recognize what's going on. If you don't, is somebody telling you what's going on, the communication that happens. Trust, a monster word when you start talking about putting 11 guys on the field that are going to play together. You got to be able to trust one another. You got to be able to lean on that.
How about you, Arch?
Well, I wrote down something very similar. I said both sides win the day in training camp.
Daily, got to do it.
So that's a daily deal where okay, the offense had their day, all of a sudden the defense rallies, they comes back, and maybe they get the afternoon if they've got a two-a-day going on, or they get that next morning, and it creates that competition that you know that week in and week out, day in and day out, you're going to compete. And when you get in games on Sunday, that mentality comes out. They keep talking about Mamba mentality around here. Kobe, paying homage to Kobe Bryant, and how he played the game like it was his last game every time he played. That's what they're trying to perpetuate here, Sean.
All right, so let me throw one at you. It's obviously we're a little off script here with this question, but I think it bodes well because we haven't mentioned it yet. And I think the guy at the helm does as good as anybody. We both know him really well. Raheem Morris, the head coach, coming into his second year. Obviously, there were some up and downs last year. What do you want to see from Ra heading into his second training camp of when you think about getting this team ready and prepared? Is there things that you feel like, maybe we see a different Ra in this situation? Or you think this is a guy that just learned from the things that happened in year one, and he's going to take off in year two and get this team ready to go?
Yeah, I think that what you said there, the latter part, I think that you hope that every time you go out, you're a little bit better than you were before. I remember a coach telling me early on when I first started playing this game, you're never the same person when you leave the field after practicing. You either are better or you're worse. You never stay the same because there's too much information, there's too many reps, there's too many opportunities to improve and learn. More often than not, if you're paying attention, doing mental reps, you're getting the physical reps, you're going to be just a little bit better. Your players say it all the time, I want to be 1% better after practice than I was today. I would think that based on the way the way Raheem works, in his study, in turning over every rock, as to what he can do to be better, that's what he spent the whole offseason doing.
Yeah.
Last year was not what they were hoping for. They got up, you're 6-3, things look good, you're a couple of games ahead of Tampa, and then the wheels started to get a little wobbly and they fell off. And why did that happen? I guarantee you they went back and evaluated all those decisions they made in-game, plays called, all those kind of things. And so I'm expecting Raheem to be better, just because I know his work ethic. I know Zach Robinson's work ethic. We've been around Jeff Ulbrich before, Marquise Williams, those guys and that staff. So that's what I'm expecting, Shock. So I think we're all set. Well, that's it for today. We'll be back on Tuesday to recap the first weekend of training camp, as well as welcome Rack back with us. Derek Rackley will be back with us on the podcast. In the meantime, make sure you check out our live broadcast this Saturday on YouTube. It'll be me and Taylor Vismore along with some special guests. So tune in. Shock may drop by. Who knows? So tune in and hang out with us and watch practice. Always remember to like, subscribe, and review at Spotify, iTunes, AtlantaFalcons.com, and YouTube. We'll see you next time. Make sure that you're with us. It's really good to be with you too, brother. It's football season.
Let's go, baby.
We're back.
Rise up.